With that, we are ready to head over to Studio 2A. So pleased to welcome back to the studio Sweet Ghosts. They're going to be performing at EXO on Friday, February 8th. With that, we send it over to Studio 2A and Sweet Ghosts.
Diamond sky, shimmering a shining night, and in the arms of giants I'll dream of you. Slow breath, cold and clean, listening for the unseen, a song inside a dream I'd sing to you of an endless blue. And in between, unstitch the silver seam that binds the sky to wing and me to you. And what if so, without, within, and underneath our temporary skin, we're stretching on and on into an endless an endless blue. Wide-eyed, the coming sun, goodbye, the long night done, and when the stars return, I'll be with you. And call it God or call it love, from within or from above, everything is woven into an endless blue. An endless blue. An
Yeah, guys. Let's do the new one.
Awesome.
It's a brand new tune called Morning Haze. It is not recorded yet. I wrote it a few weeks ago. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's take that one more time. I screwed that up. I forgot how we start.
It's new.
Like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Morning haze, wash the early light of all its meaning out of face, faded like a morning moon, a memory receding. Hold me, love, I'm alone when I'm lying here with you, skin on skin. Please don't let me go, my heart cannot stay true in this wind. Pull the shades, still the light will leak around the edges. Morning haze, daylight doesn't wait until you're ready, till you're steady. Hold me, love, I'm alone when I'm lying here with you, like forgotten toys. Please don't let me go, my heart can always hear you above the noise. Hold me, love. Hold me, love, I'm alone when I'm lying here with you, skin on skin. Please don't let me go, my heart cannot stay true in this wind. Hold me, love.
You're tuned into 91.3 KXCI. This is Locals Only. My name is Matt, and I'm so pleased to be here in Studio 2A with Sweet Ghosts. Everybody, thanks for coming down tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, man.
So why don't we start with the traditional introductions? Let us know who's
Sure.
here and what you're all doing tonight.
Cool. Well, I'm Catherine Burns, and I sing in Sweet Ghosts with Ryan Alfred, and that's what I'm doing here tonight. And I'm playing some shaker.
My name is Ben, and I'm playing violin and shaker with Sweet Ghost. That's what I'm doing tonight.
This is
It's a
Ryan.
big deal for me.
playing guitar and singing.
I'm Gabriel playing bass.
So I'm really excited to have you back in the studio. It's been a little while since we had you here.
Yeah, a couple years.
Yeah, and this is a project that has existed in some form or another for some time now, but I feel like, and you can tell me if you disagree, I feel like you've been very selective in terms of making sure that it's not a band that you're playing, 25, 30 times a year with, but that you're kind of exercising a little bit of discretion about when you're putting out new music, when you're playing shows, and keeping it sort of special because of that. So give us a little update of what's been going on in the life of Sweet Ghosts over the past couple years since you last been here.
Well, last January, about a year ago, we made a record. We did a week over at Sam Egan and Petey Ronstadt's studio, Landmark, which is kind of a lot of the material that we're playing now came out of that session. And we basically recorded most of it in about 4 days. Mm-hmm. And then it took me about a year to mix it. Not a year of working on it, but more like 2 or 3 months of not doing anything with it, and then a week or two of working on it, and then going out and doing another month or two on tour with somebody else, and so on and so forth like that. And kind of, it just took a long time to kind of get it where it needed to be. I actually had a really weird, earwax problem. Wherein I mixed the whole thing and sent it off to mastering, and then realized that I had these raisin-sized pieces of earwax
Gross.
in my ears. And when they came out, I realized that the mixes were horrible.
He kept them and had them bronzed, by the way.
They had sounded great to me with the earwax in. So once that came out, they were really, 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 really bright.
You didn't just want to sell the album with earwax pieces? You could...
Earplugs.
It's a perk for the Patreon supporters.
Yeah, good for listening on airplanes and with colds. But so there was some stumbles along the way, but ultimately I think he came out pretty good. And as far as playing shows, all the players that have kind of come into our orbit, we're all super busy doing a bunch of different stuff, and we kind of figured out a few years ago it was more satisfying to Catherine and I to kind of wait until we could have bands that we wanted to play shows, and as opposed to just kind of like booking a show and I'm playing. I mean, not that there's any lack of good musicians. There's just kind of there's a lot of reading in our stuff because we don't rehearse, so that kind of limits the pool of people who are able to just come in and do one rehearsal and make it happen.
But I do also feel that Matt was correct in that we are choosy about where and when we perform, which is part of the reason why we're performing at EXO on Friday, because they have this wonderful, wonderful listening room in back, which we're really excited to be able to do our music in, because our music gets so intimate and so quiet, and then it can also build to be very big, and that takes a special kind of space to create that mood in. So I do think that we are a bit choosy about where and when we play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So another thing I'd be interested to hear about is that both of you outside of Sweet Ghosts live lives in music and very varied lives in music.
Yeah.
What is the role of Sweet Ghosts in your sort of personal musical life, or lives rather, and what sort of niche does it fill within your lives and careers in music?
Can I?
Yeah.
I raised my
Catherine.
hand. I raised my hand like I'm in class. So I perform a lot of concerts, like I do a Barbra Streisand show, and I do a Janis Joplin show, and I do a Carole King show, and all of these performances that I do very much orbit around this very big, grand stage presence and style of singing, which is super, super fun and really wonderful and very emotionally gratifying. But there is something to be said for getting to sing songs that are original and songs that get so quiet, and the crux of it hinders on the harmony and where it sits in the chordal structure and these really beautiful, intricate melodies versus these grand sweeping Broadway songs that I often am hired to sing. So for me, Sweet Ghost very much satisfies kind of the same feeling that I got when I was singing like hymns with my choir and stuff like that, where I got to work on the intricacies of singing within a group and within a melodic structure that's difficult. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think for me as the writer, this music in the last 5 or 6 years has really morphed into almost like a meditative practice. Like as we've kind of gone more towards the quieter, like contemplative stuff, and even just like the chord choices, all these kind of suspendy kind of chords. It's really become the place where I've kind of gone to explore that kind of peaceful mood. I'm not like a inherently peaceful person, but I kind of get to be when I'm, working with some of these kind of chords that, make some of those moods for me. And to write words, I've started to really kind of hone in on trying to write words and types of melodies that fit with those chords to create something, to kind of almost like give myself a place to do that,
Mm-hmm. By the way, I really enjoyed you playing some chords as you were talking. It made me feel like we were listening to Exploring Music.
With Bill McLaughlin.
Exactly. Yeah, it was really quite lovely.
Yeah.
For those of us who have played in the band forever, Sweet Ghost is kind of like this thing where every once in a while you get this like gift delivery of like, here's like 2 new songs that we're doing and they're incredible and they're really beautiful. It's like, great, that's awesome. We get to let's work on them, let's do them. And it's the song you just heard is a really good example of that. It's brand new for those of us out in the orbit, but for these guys have been working on them for a little while. So
that don't actually live in our home.
Yeah, just a half a block away. That's all.
So we heard a new song, but next we're gonna go back to an old favorite.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
So you're listening to Sweet Ghosts. You can catch them at EXO on Friday night, and we'll be chatting again in a little bit. But first, back to the music with Sweet Ghosts.
Perfect.
This is a tune I wrote about Detroit when I first went there, and I'm gonna guess 2006, before the grand renovation that is currently underway. There's a crazy old homeless woman with more fingers than teeth. She's got headphones but no radio, doing a rain dance down this forgotten street. She points a hand at me and says, "Boy, I got my good eye on you." Then she raised it up to heaven, singing, "Hallelujah, the Lord does too." There's a place called the Old Miami, down on the Cass Corridor. All the veterans bellying up to the bar, telling jokes they've all heard before. Now Dan's a big man but not terribly tall, and he smiles like it's all he's got. He's had the Miami since '79, now they're wanted for a parking lot. He pours a hand on me and says, "Boy, before I was old enough to drink, I was watching boys die in the jungle, down in the trenches where you just sink into the mud, covered in the blood of somebody's son." The old Packer plant stands in ruins, unused since '56. Thousands of windows shattered out by the vandals that keep setting fire to its bricks.
And the streets are eerily empty on a day with such welcoming skies. Half of the towers that shadow this city are as vacant as a junkie's eyes. She points a hand at me and says, boy, I got my good eye on you. Then she raised it up to heaven, singing, hallelujah, Lord does too.
Cool.
I just wanted to interject to remind everybody, I forgot to mention before, that if you're enjoying listening, you can also watch this performance. If you head to the KXCI YouTube page or KXCI Facebook page, you can watch this live right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just learned that. We didn't post about that because I didn't realize y'all were streaming it now. That's how long it's been since we did it.
Great.
This next tune is a tune I wrote about a friend of ours that got divorced at the Tucson courthouse. Came home one time and told us that she had just signed her divorce papers 2 windows down, and 10 years later, from the window where she signed her marriage license.
And Ryan said, that's a country song. Two windows down, and 10 years later, at the courthouse, getting their papers signed. Two young lovers, rings still shining, signing their maiden name for the last time. And I was raised to only say forever once, but surely I'm not meant to be alone. 2 windows down, and 10 years later, I'm signing my maiden name again on my own. Two windows down, and 10 years later, my heart broken as your word. Will you use the same ring I gave back when I left? When you make the same promises to her, and I was raised to only say forever once. But surely I'm not meant to be alone. Two windows down,
Windows down.
10 years later, I'm signing my maiden name again on my own.
Very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Catherine Burns.
Thanks. And I do feel that we have to say that was also Ben Nisbet. That was crazy,
yeah.
awesome violin solo. This next tune is a song I've been wanting to sing forever. This is a cover. This is a Joni Mitchell song that I love. So thanks for letting me sing it. Okay. I awoke today and saw the frost perched on the town. It hovered in the frozen sky and it gobbled summer down. When the sun turns traitor cold and all the leaves are shivering in a naked row, I get the urge for going, but I never seem to go. I get the urge for going when the meadow grass is turning brown and summertime is falling down and winter's closing in. I had me a man in summertime. He had summer-colored skin, and not another girl in town my darling's heart could win. But when the leaves fell on the ground and bully winds came around, pushed them face down in the snow, he got the urge for going, and I had to let him go. He got the urge for going when the meadow grass was turning brown and summertime is falling down and winter's closing in. Now the warriors of winter, they give a long triumphant shout, and all that stays is dying, all that leaves is getting out. I'd like to call back summertime and have her stay for just another month or so, but she's got the urge for going, and I guess she'll have to go. She's got the urge for going when the meadow grass was turning brown and all her empires are falling down and winter's closing in. Apply a fire with kindling and pull the blankets to my chin. I'll lock the vagrant wind boat my wandering in. See the geese in chevron flight, flapping and racing on before the snow. They've got the urge for going, and they've got their wings so they can go. They've got the urge for going when the meadow grass was turning brown and summertime is falling down and winter's closing in. And I get the urge for going when the meadow grass is turning brown and summertime is falling down.
You're listening to Locals Only here on KXCI. My name's Matt Milner, live in Studio 2A with Sweet Ghosts. Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
So, Catherine, I'm really glad that you, well, that was a really lovely song, but I'm glad that you performed a cover because it also gives me the chance to ask a question I'd been thinking about in the last couple of days, which is that you spend a lot of your life and a lot of your time on stage interpreting songs that people are very familiar with.
Yes.
What is your approach to sort of finding your way in and through those songs, and how is it similar or different to the way that you approach singing your own songs and Sweet Ghost songs?
That's a really, really thoughtful question. It's interesting because I actually don't have any desire to write my own music. I just love being an interpreter of other people's music.
Yeah.
So I'm actually very fascinated that you asked me that question. For me, it comes very much from finding a personal connection to every song I sing, whether it's funny or sad or passionate or exciting. There has to be some element of personal connection or else I won't sing it. I don't.
Unless they pay well.
Unless they pay well enough, but then it's a
And then
performance
doesn't
that's
matter.
kind of not as touching. So, and usually you can find an element within each song that you can grasp onto. It's a lot like the Stanislavski method of acting, where you just kind of have to drudge up something from your past in order to feel the emotions that you're trying to convey.
Yeah.
Whereas, but for music, for me, it's a lot easier because it brings the emotions up without me having to like reach down inside of myself and do the work. So it's almost like riding a boat. It's just, you kind of just let it take you where you're going to go. And I feel lucky enough that I have an instrument that I've worked with and studied with for long enough that I very much trust it, and I just go. So like, if I'm singing some crazy Janis Joplin song and I feel like yelling my head off, I will, and just trust that I can do what's in my mind. So yeah, it's a personal connection that I try to convey with the audience.
Ryan, I'm curious, given that you, going back to Two Windows Down, which was a really terrific song.
Thank you.
I loved the anecdote you shared at the beginning, but I'm curious if that's typical of your songwriting process in terms of finding some little spark or seed out from something you hear in the world or a conversation, and then extrapolating from there, or the things tend to come from a more inward focused place.
That's a really good question, actually. I feel like I used to write more on kind of the former, where like Detroit is a great example. Those were just a series of scenes that I witnessed in the first day and a half I was in Detroit, and then wrote down in a notebook in the back of the van on the way to Cleveland or wherever that fusion band was playing next that I was on tour with. And similarly to Windows Down, lots of songs have come from that. But I've found myself with some of our newer stuff, quite a lot of the stuff off of the new record has been more imaginative, as I've kind of it's almost like I've gotten kind of like tired of certain subjects that I wrote a lot about when I was younger, you know, writing a lot of kind of heartbreak stuff when, I mean, not that heartbreak is ever not new, but you do kind of, you can wear that out. I mean, I'm sure you can relate, Gabe, to, you know, you get to the 100th song about heartbreak and you find, oh, I wrote that line already. Because, you know, so I've started kind of challenging myself to write things, and what's been interesting to me is realizing that for a song to have a very personal connection, or for me to have a personal connection to it, it doesn't actually have to be about something that I lived. It just has to address a certain emotional or philosophical truth that I believe in, and I've gotten kind of further into that in the last year or two of kind of disconnecting my songwriting from things that are, you know, just little snatches and like the Two Windows Down thing. Though I mean that's an example of something like, if that comes to me, I'm not going to like reject that as an idea. But if something so juicy as, I mean, Catherine walked in and was like, oh yeah, she said 2 windows down, and 10 years later, I was like, wow, that's poetic. I'm not going to just discard that, but I'm more curious right now about more imaginative stuff for songwriting.
We've talked about the new album, or we've alluded to the new album, but what is the fate of the new album as far as our listeners are concerned?
That's a good question.
Yes. What is the fate?
That's the question on everyone who played on its lips. I think it'll probably come out sometime like late spring, early summer. I mean, it's been done since about November or so.
And it's awesome.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I'm really happy with it. My faith in the music industry is waning, and as I don't know how best and most concise to put it, but it's hard for me to justify spending lots of money making physical copies of something, but that I don't anticipate selling because we don't really tour. But on the other hand, it's also not at all satisfying to not release it. So I've been kind of wrestling with that and figuring out exactly what to do. So it will come out at some point in some physical form, but I haven't exactly honed in on what that is going to look like. You know, there's a part of me that would love to make a bunch of vinyl, but there's also a part of me that doesn't want to have a bunch of petroleum products sitting in my closet unsold because we don't tour with, you know, $2,000 debt behind it. So that's kind of a long way of saying I'm not exactly sure.
Right. We've got time. So
but those are the variables that I'm weighing.
It is a beautiful record, though.
You have been in so many different roles within the music industry, and in terms of the business of music as well, and you've seen a lot of the changes, transformations you alluded to, but I'm just curious, in your own life, how has the role of physical music changed? Do you still feel like you have a relationship with physical releases in a way that's...
Me personally, yeah. I probably spend $200 a month on music, at least. I buy tons of music. I kind of went through a period in my 20s where I didn't as much, and now I'm back to just consuming an enormous amount of music. But it's usually like going to Zia and buying like 20 things in their dollar bin because they're records that no one cares about anymore. I'm like, oh, well, I didn't buy that in the 90s when it was popular, and I wonder what that Smashing Pumpkins record sounds like, or something like that, a Bobby McFerrin record or something. As far as like making the stuff though, it's weird. I actually feel like I don't really have a grasp on it. Our audience tends to skew a little bit older, so when we like reached out and made stepped out and made a 7-inch, of which this was the cover,
which for those listeners is a picture behind us.
Yeah. We sold like 20 copies of it because all the people at our shows were like, "Oh, people listen to records again?" And I'm like, "Oh man, like that was a mistake. That was a miscalculation." But then we make CDs, and where on earth do you play a CD anymore? Not in a computer, barely in a car, maybe, but probably not. You're probably going to plug your iPod in, or your iPhone rather. So the physical thing is tough to figure out what to do with that. But like I said, it's also not that satisfying to me, the idea of having made this gorgeous record with, you know, this great band and a string quartet and a bunch of great players, and just kind of throw it on all the music services and pay that annual fee and hope for the best.
I think that the part of what we're dancing around, though, brings us back to maybe the beginning of the conversation, that one of the things that I value about this project is that you have really put a lot of thought into care into making the music or an experience, making it something that people can appreciate in very specific contexts, and not just sort of losing it to the like void of, you know, this sound that sort of surrounds us all the time. So I do hope that you find whatever form it's supposed to take, but find a way to share it with the world in a way that's meaningful to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We
will.
We will. You know what? I think moving forward, I've thought about this a lot. I think we will continue to make records as Sweet Ghosts. It's something I almost did on this last one, but a bunch of kind of logistical variables interfered with. I don't know that I'll make another record with this band that's just strictly an album in the classic sense. I think I am more inclined to rehearse a band a little bit more than we normally do, and then just record live albums that are videotaped, and just make performance albums, basically. That, to me, seems like a meaningful way to create things for the future.
Fortunately, that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, just kind of acknowledging that, like, now that the technology is caught up to where there's absolutely no reason you can't videotape everything that you make, and especially for a project like ours that's so centered around the actual performances, instead of a ton of overdubs layered in together over time and painstakingly mixed.
Right.
I think that would be what I would like to do.
So, Friday, XO.
XO.
If people want to find out more information about Sweet Ghost, what's the best way to do that?
Sweetghost.com, kind of the hub, gets all the Facebook and Bandcamp and stuff. Yeah.
And for Friday,
is there an Instagram?
you can buy tickets in advance on XO's website. So go to exocoffee.com, exocoffee.com, and buy tickets, because it's going to be a really beautiful show. We're really excited for it.
Yeah, we've got, in addition to who you're hearing right now, we've got Kai Felix playing drums, a young drummer in town. It's phenomenal. And Angelo Versace playing piano, who's just a beautiful, beautiful musician.
He's a wizard.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's hear a couple more songs. You listen to Sweet Ghosts here on Locals Only, and as a reminder, if you happen to be in front of a screen, and let's face it, you probably are. we all are at all
how
times.
big is it?
Yeah, exactly.
It was dark, man.
The size of a wall? Is it
yeah.
the size of a phone?
But you can watch this live. Head over to YouTube, go to the KXCI page, or on our Facebook page as well.
We're going to throw in an audible and play a tune that we didn't tell the band we're going to play.
Yeah.
So when I give you guys the nod, you're just going between D and G. It's super easy. Okay. This is our song that addresses a lot of what we were just talking about. Can't we just turn it all off for a while? Those little screams, the endless parade that swallows the day and follows us into our dreams. Has it been so long since we made love without hurry? Since we slept without worry? Since we slept all through the night? Can't we just turn it all off for a while? Let it all go on red. Who said what about
said, what about something that somebody said? Has it been so long since we just sat out on the porch and let it all blow by?
Very good.
Wide-eyed on an overnighter, thundering into the black. Wires crossing from that truck stop, coffee in a seat that probably never leaned back. 6 more hours to Roseville, and 2 until that eastern sun. I've known men who sleep easy, but I ain't one. Wishing we could go back to Tucson, baby, back when we were 17. Back before you cut all your pretty hair off.
Back when drinking didn't make you mean.
You and I sipping on a bottle of wine all night, just carrying on. Wishing we could just go back to Tucson. Red eyes in a broken mirror, hanging on a tile wall. Lights buzzing and somebody's cousin is sleeping it off in the stall. $30 will get me to Reno. I'll call up my sister's son. I've known men who had something planned, but I ain't one. Wishing we could go back to Tucson, baby, back when we were 17. Back when you'd still take me out to the movies. Back when you were still chasing your dreams. You and I sipping on a bottle of wine all night, just carrying on. But you can never go back, thundering into the black. Wishing we could just go back to Tucson. Back to Tucson.
Yeah. What do you think? We got time for one more? Let's do one more. This is the song that we skipped.
Oh, good. Okay.
This one's called Carousel. This is my favorite song to play every time at Holmes.
It's so true.
And I was born from nothing to nothing I'll return. And who am I to name the time between? It's a mystery to me. What funny little monkeys, a billion little leaves shaking on a tree, just trying to understand this long confusing dream. It's a mystery to me.
Time will bend your back and sag your pretty skin and beckon you towards that hidden door. Maybe it's an ending, or maybe it's a carousel that spins and spins, but no one knows for sure. And maybe this is nothing. How would you ever know? And some have claimed they see behind the screen. It's a mystery to me. Sometimes I hear an orchestra, the brass, the winds, the choir, the strings, a perfect melody that's somehow out of reach. It's a mystery to me. And time will bend your back and sag your pretty skin and beckon you towards that hidden door. Maybe it's an ending, or maybe it's a carousel that spins and spins, but no one knows for sure.
Sweet Ghosts live in Studio 2A Friday night at XO. Thanks for listening, everybody. The Scratching Post is up next. Have a great night.
Thanks.
Thank you.